Hey, yeah, And tell me something. Tell me something. To be dominant, to be dominant, or to not be dominant, like towards almost every situation that there is. To be dominant or to be neutral, you know, I'm thinking neutrality. I'm thinking neutrality. Like towards each and every situation that you think that you're never gonna get out of, for example. You know, neutrality. Uh, while mixing it up a little with with a little form of creativity, with sprinkles of creativity, because even the hardest problems uh, that we come are a form of art, which is why there is a certain type of notion or motion that you have to assume. You have to be in between. You must be neutral. You know, they come around exhibiting some form of hate. You meet them halfway with a balanced state of mind, with not even uh, trying too hard. To be them or literally live their lives or you know what I mean? Like it's a bunch of blabber, but it's honestly based on what I've observed. What I've observed about human behavior, um, the constructs that make up human behavior, and sort of like a counter type of uh, I don't know, a counter, towards being pressurized or being made to feel like you're not doing enough, because there's a tendency of people in the world um, to make other people like they're not doing enough or like they're not achieving enough. um, Gail Smith are totally fake. There's no way that I'm in the position to receive any donation. So, fake. Gail Smith, fake, not wanted here, not required here. Charlotte's fake as well, fake account. Charlotte's or Charlotte T's or something, fake account, not needed here. Right. Um. Yeah, I mean, I'm too smart. I'm smart. I'm too smart for any of this other BS. Uh, that's on social media. Cause like for instance, uh, it's not like I've actually unlocked any other features. To have people donate. You understand? And Cash App. As for Cash App, for people who really want to donate, I'm gonna have that up and running soon. Up and running soon. Everything is a matter of gathering up enough resources to get started. So Cash App, I'm gonna have to run that shit up, run those numbers up, have real donations, have organic donations, have people who actually really want to donate something, having those donations go through. Now, um, well, it's it's a very interesting time to be alive in Africa. Um, well, first of all, I I acknowledge the fact that there has to be a unity and a oneness in Africa and all that, but shout out to Bong, a treasure. I acknowledge that there has to be a oneness in Africa and all that. If you are real, Bonga trash. If you're not, I'm gonna notice. And yeah, to the people who keep on doing whatever they do in order to attempt sabotaging me, keep on doing what you're doing. I guess we'll have to lock horns then, if that's the case. So it's a very, very interesting time to be alive in Africa. There's often a talk, a one world, I mean, a one Africa type, whatever. But at the same time, there are certain things that are to be considered. You understand? Like safety and security. In as much as we have to be accepting of people, of certain people, based on, the fact that, like me, I'm from Africa, South Africa. Of course, I am gonna be in the position to a degree, of course, accept my fellow African brethren. But at the same time, I mean, we are human beings, you know. Um, see, we are human beings. Gooby guy is totally fake. Antoine. So I am African, and I'm from South Africa, and but at the same time, even if there is, this possibility of one Africa and whatsoever, certain things have to be considered, like safety and security. You know, things like espionage do exist. Deconstructor, yeah. Come on, Faith. How are you? Where are you from? Where are you from? Wagupne leave in Faith. Wagipne leave in Faith. I'm told. But then me, my language is Swati. I don't know what language you speak, but I speak Swati. I'm told. I am indeed Swati, South African. Meaning that I was born here, went to school here, grew up here. My birth certificate is from here. Hence, my identity is from here. But I am Swati. Rightfully so. Well, not I wouldn't say rightfully so, because the story of Dlomo, my ancestor, goes something like the guy migrated. The guy migrated. So since the guy migrated, it means that he hails, my ancestor originally hailed from KwaZulu Natal. So I'd say that I am part Zulu Swati, but because my dad grew up in Swaziland, but because my dad had most of his moments in Swaziland, and by some coincidence came here, met my mother, blah 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 blah, here I am. This opposing, stubborn, hot-headed streamer. Here I am, years later. And deconstructor, I'd want to think that you're totally fake because you didn't answer any of my questions. Right. I won. So yeah, man. It's a very, very interesting time to be alive in Africa. So I was talking. This is my opinion, right? It's not like true or like proven or anything, but it's like my opinion. The one Africa thing, yeah, it could work, but because of the cultural and sort of like religious, you know, differences, I guess, or like differ as in differences, right? Because of the cultural and religious differences and overall differences, uh, things like uh, security, high-end security, high-end as in like fortified security, things like that are to be considered by nations in Africa that consider this one Africa policy thing, because Even now, you check, there are wars going on in Africa, or wars that are to be waged in Africa, or the possibility of certain wars being waged in Africa by Africans. So, I mean, war is always not very far, you know. It's been proven generation after generation. War is not very far. So because of such things, um, there has to be, measures. Uh, English is not even my mother tongue. So even if I sound like a meh, 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 so there has to be measures. You understand? And I mean, people have their own opinions about what Africa should be and blah blah blah. But at the same time, we mustn't run away that within the leaders that we put to be in power, so these guys are ruled by their egos to a degree, to an extent. To a degree, to an extent, they're ruled by their egos. And since egos clash and egos collide, we as individuals have to form our own allegiances, our own societies. That's just the truth, because they are breakaway societies, if you may, right? So, Pet Wilder Beasts, are you a human being, bro? Are you real? Diego. Ah, Pet Wildebeest. Okay. Pet Wildebeest. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Macron is macaroni. Macron is macaroni. Oh my word. Yeah, yeah. You see, colonial powers are the other form of separatist type of threat. You see, but then Mr. Kuda, hi. Why do you repeat a greeting? I don't like that. I don't like that. Oh yeah, Mr. Kuda is fake. And shout out to Pet Wildebeest. So, yeah, the colonial colonial powers are a factor, but at the same time, we ourselves as Africans, we have this potential of letting power turn us inside out, literally. There's such a trend, and mind you, I'm not talking about all African leaders. There are African leaders who are truly, truly, truly honest. I will admit such. But at the same time, within Africa, this Africa that we seek to unite, there are cracks in between this Africa that we seek to unite. At the end of the day, there are cracks that go deep, 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 deep for it. Perhaps, exactly, perhaps, meaning that this unity is not even going like a short thing. It may happen, it may come to pass, right? But it's not going to be a short thing. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe that's what I'm trying to say. This African unity, it's gonna be maybe key, but not a short thing. It's not gonna be a short thing, because within Africa there are leaders that are so egotistical, like they're just full of themselves like that. You understand? Meaning that this unity is sort of a lost cause. Not to say entirely, it is to a degree a lost cause. I understand, because at the end of the day, if as human beings we don't gather, under the auspices of maybe sorting out deals or whatever, or negotiating, certain economic, growth. What else are we really doing? Are we trying to pander to one another? Do you understand what the fuck I'm trying to say to you? If we as African leaders don't grow a pair, and decide, okay, you know what? Some shit is just not about my lineage. Some shit is not about the supposed pride of my country. But to a degree, it is about the pride of my country. But to an extent, it's not like I have to close myself off, because African leaders, they have this element of closing themselves off when it comes to obvious shit. You understand? When it comes to the most obvious of things. You understand me? For the sake of the African people and the pride of the African people. Right? In as much as there have been supposed revolutionaries, some of them, I'm not saying all of them, there are revolutionaries who are African that are flops even. They have come, you know, under the auspices of being revolutionaries when they were flops at the end of the day. Look at Somalia, for example. What did that come to? You understand? What did that come to? You know what I mean? Certain parts of what's this place? Iran. I mean, the reason why Iraq and there's Iran. I think Iran is like Morocco or something, if I'm not mistaken. But something like Morocco. There's a certain type of like capital there, and this capital is like a flop, if I'm not mistaken, right? If my information is correct. Because I mean, I live on Earth. It's not like I'm from Jupiter. There's always like a bombardment of what's going on in the world into my mind. Well, so so look at how that turned out. Because it's like, okay, cool. They colonize. These Europeans, blah blah blah, whatever, whatever, whatever. But sometimes it's like we make excuses, to abuse a certain monicum of power that we Africans end up having. Of course, in this regard, talking about African leaders, there are African leaders that are good leaders. I don't want to fucking lie about that. But then there are African, even in the modern day. I'm not going to mention any names themselves. You understand? Oh, gold, you say. Save the gold. Yeah, nah. Saving the gold is, well, saving the gold. Saving the gold, you say. No, I hear all that. And you mentioning saving gold is actually good. It's good because to an extent, to a degree, African people, get to, benefit to a degree out of that gold, because there have to be scientists that come out of every country, right? Meaning there have to be people that know maybe chemistry or whatever. I don't fucking know, to a degree. Meaning that the gold is worth more than just accessories, right? So such an evolution could be possible in Africa, right? Where there are these geniuses, inventors, high level inventors, because there's a lot of gold in Africa. And since there's a whole lot of gold, there should be, in the near future, it may not be now, there should be opportunities that are guaranteed towards the young, thriving, talented, genius people in Africa, for them to actually not only serve other countries, but serve their countries, in innovating their countries, besides entitlement of the air, of the minerals, and all of the other stuff, right? Because in a way, to a degree, being entitled to resources for an it doesn't determine the amount of ability you have, the amount of genius that you have. Understand? Yeah, I understand, bro. I understand. Pat Wilder. I'm from South Africa, one of the most highest gold concentrated, uh, countries in Africa, basically. Followed, of course, by Boma Democratic Republic, I think, if I'm not mistaken, followed by Rwanda. Most gold. Like the most gold, you understand? In the DRC, South Africa, in Rwanda. That's where the most gold is. They know it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I mean? But anyways, man. But anyways. This is just me. Uh, this is just me. Yeah. In a way, I do. In a way, I do have the power. In a way, I do have the power. Because imagine if we take off, like if I take off, or if the brand takes off like that, what I'd honestly do in South Africa, I would change the education system from top to bottom. Not to say change it entirely, it here and there. Come on, Msizi Share. Oh, that's your name. Something like, well, Pat Wilder. Pat Wilder is okay. Hi. No. Oh, hi. Msizi Sherry. Okay, Msizi Sherry. This is Pat Wilder. All right. You know what I'm saying? Interact, get to know each other. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Right. Ayo, Pat. Shout out, bro. Shout out to you. Shout out to Pat. Shout out to Pat one time. Shout out to Pat one time. So, so what I do, me, if the really took off, I know that I probably wouldn't get it done 100%, but you see our government schools, there are certain elements that I'd add, to the education that is delivered in our government schools. That's the first thing that my time in school, my time in high school, it was good, but there were certain things that were very insufficient. You understand? Mm, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Felicity Skidmore. Skidmore, welcome. And make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, of course. Of course, if you are if you are a fan of hip hop rap, make sure that you keep it locked, you know what I'm saying? Because these streams are still gonna come. And yeah, to anybody who may view the video, and if you're new, make sure that you hit that like button, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, make sure that you hit the notification bell in order to boost the algorithm, comment in order to boost the algorithm. Make sure that you share every video. Make sure that you share the live as we are live. We want to understand. So, who this? Who this? Ian, what's up? Pronouncing your name incorrectly, I'm sorry, but Ian. Where am I from? I'm from South Africa. City of Mbombela. Nelspruit, city of possibilities. City of innovation, city of potential, city of talent, city of education, city of Mbombela. That's where I'm from. South Africa, city of Mbombela. Shout out to you. Ian, something like that, right? From Pakistan. Shout out to you from Pakistan, right? Let me just hope that you understand English, good English, right? Yeah. Part of bricks. Exactly. Part of bricks. Yep. I didn't want to say it, but we are currently like a threat to America because of that, because of being a part of BRICS, because of choosing, because of having options, or like if we're up to America, certain countries are to not have any options. If it were really up to the states, certain countries ought to not have any options. But because South Africa grew some balls over the years, I don't want to think, in as much as South Africa plundered itself in international debt because of the inconsistencies in the leadership in South Africa, of course. Because there are a whole lot of inconsistencies in SA. SA is South Africa is a big economy, but there's a whole lot of inconsistencies. Porous borders, you understand? No reaffirmed, actually, like, yeah, reaffirmed. That's how I want to put. No reaffirmed policies, right? No reiterated policies. Because I mean, if you're a government, you have and make sure that the laws or the policies that you set are real and they are to be lived up to, because you can't just freaking set policies and come up with laws and just talk, blah blah blah, and just want to come on speeches for show. You gotta live up to that shit, right? And talking about living up to policies, shout out to the great Zimbabwe, right? One time for living up to policy. At least there is somewhat of a silver lining. In as much as you know countries down south are really like plundered and shit. At least there's a silver lining. Imagine if now, uh, imagine if now you live in a country where they put the people first, la pa, young bam, and then they set policies, understand, and then they live up to those policies. At least, even if there are inconsistencies within that country, at least something good is being, or things practiced. That's what I'd want to think. What about farmers? Well, farmers. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. Can you give Neil Armstrong his moon landing camera back? I'm gonna you can throw yourself off the moon. How about that, Mganom? How about that, my friend? Neil Armstrong's landing camera back. You can throw yourself off the moon, my friend. Young bam. Yeah. Yellow wait. Salam alaikum. Yeah, how are you? 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 Zaliko. You talk good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, in as much as there is a sloppiness in how certain countries in Africa are run. You understand that? At least there's a silver lining, yan. Like for example, people who are not supposed to be in in the country unlawfully, for example, are to be taken back to their country. You know what I mean? But then as for South Africa, ooh, inconsistent in such a display, but inconsistent. At least in Nagagwa, this is Ramaphosa when it comes to something, or his administration surpasses the administration of Ramaphosa's, because Ramaphosa's administration is very sloppy, right? And not all of fire. How are you? Pet Wild, yeah, beginner. So Burkina Faso, Burkina Faso, Burkina Faso. Yeah, shout out to Burkina Faso. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. Shout out to Burkina Faso. Shout out to Burkina Faso first of all for starting companies. You understand that? For starting companies that represent the people, for companies that look out for their people first. Shout out to Burkina Faso for utilizing its resources and having certain constituents that stipulate that they are to produce certain products and export them strictly to certain countries. You understand? Shout out to Traore for actually braving through like that. You understand? Because it takes a whole lot of balls, Baba, a whole lot of kaunas. Actually, be like, you know what? Fuck this. These resources belong here. So since these resources belong here, these fucks have to actually accept the fact that they have to buy shit from us because this shit belongs to us. And if they wanna, shrug it off and pretend like they don't understand what's going on, we prove it to them that we as a country have what it takes to be mobile and fucking work, put in the work and sell products. And then they buy that shit. You don't understand? Shout out to Traore one time. Shout out to Traore one time for actually making that Clear. Perfectly clear. Good story, Baba. Everything that's on here belongs to us, nigga. Y'all motherfuckers came when y'all came and shit. And y'all motherfuckers thought that you could have the upper hand and shit. Like taking shit from us and then selling it back. And then I would have snapped. Yeah, Travolta was like, nah, dog. Ain't happening like that. Y'all motherfuckers like had your trip. Y'all motherfuckers done had like your time. Whereby you done took our shit and fucking claim to motherfucking manufacture it, or you claim its authenticity, or its being, to be from your country. You understand? No, president of Africa, good candidate, Traore, to be president of Africa. Because he's probably one of the most decisive motherfuckers in Africa right now. One of the most. His balls are so swell right now. The way that his balls are so big, Nakon Traore, he has swell balls so much that he could literally impregnate the wives of residing presidents right now. Like, he's probably one of the most decisive guys ever. By the way, that's a metaphor. That's a metaphor. That's a metaphor. That's a 2020s metaphor. You see, in the 2020s, you can make up words, and they could literally stick. You could literally come up with new metaphors in the 2020s, like something that has never been ever heard of in the English context, like ever. Hey yo. No. Hey, hold on. Me. No call. Voila. You said hello. You're saying hello again. Come on, dog. Yeah. I'm for you too. When we're born, then you see it. You see it exactly for what it really is. You see it exactly for what it really is. Because think of it, dog. Some of these countries, there are certain resources that they actually don't really have. You understand that? And it really doesn't make any freaking sense that some of these countries they own almost everything, and it's like where they come from, there isn't a shred. They depleted everything where they come from. They depleted everything, dog. They done overused everything. They done exhausted everything, bro. Like these people, bro, like in terms of like even conservation, things like conserving nature, they won't admit it, but their ancestors learned that shit from us. They picked up that shit from us, Africans. Conserving nature, sort of paying attention to the patterns of nature, the animals, seasons, blah blah, moods, signs, whatever the fuck. They derived all that shit from us. In as much as it may be as modernized with all these supposed tools, by the way. I say supposed because if you do your digging, there are accounts of technologies in the past that were too advanced to be true. You understand me? So the modern day is a big fucking facade. That's all I'm gonna say, because there are technologies that have been recorded to be so freaking advanced that it would totally trample some of the modern day technologies that we have. Like that's just fact. Kumbule titori tabo Tatari, ancient Tartary. Read up those accounts, and then you'll understand that, okay, damn, even some of the buildings that are there, it's not like they're really responsible for the architecture. At least countries like the Great Russia have the balls to actually admit that, okay, you know what, certain buildings, we were not responsible for that shit. And then you have other nations, European nations, lying lying, literally lying that they were responsible for certain architecture and certain huge ass buildings, unrealistic buildings. Like, they're like, yeah, yeah, blah, 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 yeah. Nah, you were not responsible. You were not responsible. Big up to the young president, Ibrahim. We need young president. Abomadala bayasibulala. Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely, bro. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, because Bomadala, when you check it, is, appeasing. Why? Because Abomadala, they have this tendency of being polygamous. You understand? They have this tendency of being polygamous. They have this tendency of supporting extended family members, all this other stuff. Do you think that supporting extended family members is gonna take your salary alone? Of course it's not. If your family members are like, okay, they don't want to work for shit because suddenly you are maybe famous, you suddenly have a lot of cash. Yeah, it just means that they are a bunch of exploits themselves. That's what I think. Meaning that as a man, you allow certain things to prevail. It's not about, being in a situation where you feel like, ish, I'm so cornered, I feel like I can't do anything. Damn it. Nah, you see, what I'm trying to say is that if some of these guys who are leaders are real men, real men. Yeah, excuse the pronunciation. I'm Swati, anyways, like, come on, dog, I'm Swati, bro. I got white people talking Swati, bro. What the fuck, bro? There are white people who talk Swati way better than me. And some of y'all out there in the world don't know half of that shit. You don't even know half. You don't know shit about any of that. You don't know shit. You don't know that there are white people in South Africa, in the down in Southern Africa, down south, whatever. They are able to talk Nguni languages better than the Ngunis themselves, and they've integrated with Nguni cultures, right? And I bet that's something that Mr. Trump doesn't know himself, right? That white people have very much integrated with Nguni culture, very much integrated with Nguni culture, and so much that I bet that if they attempt an invasion, he would encounter a horde of white people out of freaking nowhere. Literally. Like, there'd be a literal horde of white people, nigga. Rich white people, armored and shit. Like, nah, you ain't doing that. Of course, I don't mean to be talking in such an accent. You're not going to be doing that, man. This America, what does this America think it is, man? Hey, yo, there are Boers, nigga, in SA that are black. Donald Trump doesn't probably know that. I know. A lot of people don't know that. That there are Boers that are more blacker than black people in South Africa. All fucking Zulu speaking and shit. All Swati speaking. All Sotho speaking even. Tswana speaking. And I bet that Donald Trump doesn't even. Half of y'all motherfuckers don't. Most of y'all around the world, bro. I don't know where you're from, but most of y'all around the world have no freaking idea what's going on in Africa, down south. You have no idea, dog. You're not aware, bro. Blinded. You're blinded, dog. You are blinded. Did you know that there are Chinese people that are Zulu in South Africa? It gets deep. It gets deep, dog. It gets deep. Chinese people that are more Zulu than Zulus. Oh, it gets really deep, dog. It gets deep. It gets deep. Yeah. In South Africa, there are Ethiopian people that are Swati than most Swati people. Digest that. Stomach that. United States. Stomach that. So division and sort of all that shit, none, separation, none. It's really not prevalent in South Africa as people would want to think. The only misunderstanding that there is in South Africa is that, our leaders, they don't take our thoughts and our feelings into consideration. You understand? Like this very stream. Yeah, even if the stream were to reach 1,000 views right now, of which I'm unlikely to do that since my subscribers are low. Nobody would fucking take this shit serious, dog. People will be like, oh, just another cloud chaser. Yeah, in a way, I am chasing clouds because this is YouTube, bro. I have to talk about what I talk about, and why not talk about what I must talk about, especially if I'm from a certain country like South Africa that happens to be one of the most economically stifled countries in the freaking world, man. Of course I talk, man. Of course I'm gonna talk. Of course I'm gonna talk about. I happen to be Swati, South African. Of course I'm gonna mention fucking Zealand, the oppressive sort of kingship that's there. Yeah, of which the kingship that's there is oppressive. It is quite oppressive to the people. But when the United Nations or other international delegates get there, yeah, that king has a way of pretending. He has a way of, you know, living up to the gesturing, of or to the gesture, I guess, of European delegates or international delegates. He has a way of pretending that king of Swaziland. Well, because one thing is for sure, he makes people work for peanuts in the field, of which it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like Swaziland is like one of the most highest producers of cane, yet the Swati people are like, it just doesn't make any sense. The Swati people gotta live in destitute sometimes. They gotta live fearful sometimes because they're gonna get their ass kicked and shit. Because that shit happens, by the way. I don't even, yo, not to even mention this part. Not to even mention this part. Nigga, people bowing, nigga. People bowing. Ever. People bowing, people being treated like freaking dogs. And dad was actually saying that there was this other time where dad was saying that I have to go and stay at a Swatini. And I almost fell for that shit, nigga. Yeah, I almost fell for that shit. I almost fell for it, bro. There's this other time dad was like, hey yo, nigga, look, bro. Yeah, things ain't going well in SA, nigga. Things are not going well in Pumalanga and Nelspruit and Gapoweni, bro. Yeah, do yourself a favor and just come and stay in Eswatini. I was like, what the fuck, nigga? Fuck all that shit, nigga. I almost fell for it, by the way. You understand? An asset versus a liability for Africa as a whole. An asset. Okay, an asset, I'd want to think that, huh? What? Me, German. Yeah, this is weird, dog. Weird. Outright weird. No offense, but Baba, you can't just come in and type, I don't know, I don't know the name of a country randomly. Of course, I'm gonna be like weirdo, obviously. You know what I mean? You didn't even greet. You don't greet. You just type. Just type the name of the country. Come on, dog. You have to be more civilized than that. So an asset versus a liability. So I'd want to think that an asset is, an asset when we go to a country, make sure that people in the country don't encounter hardships. People in the country are given leverage to make their lives better. That's an asset when it comes to leadership in Africa. His people or her people a nudge forward. You know what I mean? Decisively. Of course, incentivizing them. Not just thinking about themselves, right? They gotta remember, okay, my people, I gotta serve people, right? I have to make sure that there's jobs. I have to make sure hospitals. I don't only just have to make sure that there are jobs. I have to make sure that I create the necessary incentives that guarantee that people out there get jobs that are gonna pay them and make sure that they have a good standard of living. That's a freaking asset. Now, if you are paying attention to my statement, I'm not trying to say that an African leader should just give people things for free. That's not what I'm saying, right? What I'm saying is that a true African leader makes sure that there are incentives that are put in place that are varying from situation to situation, from circumstance to circumstance. If my English is not computing, it doesn't. I don't give much of it because this English thing is not even my mother tongue. It was imposed upon me. It was forcefully imposed upon me. My descendants had to fight never-ending wars. Me articulating this English is a result of years of fucking trauma. That's what I'm gonna say. It's not a result of some random neural wirings. No, 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 no. Those neural wirings were triggered by years of freaking trauma. Right? That is to say, me even conceptualizing English to this degree, it's not just some random of DNA, whatever. And then a liability. A liability is someone who seems to just passively allocate, right, things, right? Someone who just allocates things passively and sort of makes it look like they're confused about the result that is hence processed or whatever, or the results that comes to be. Someone who acts like they're surprised about the results and shit, like people who just be like, yeah, blah, 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 yeah, man, we're gonna build hospitals, blah, 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 yeah. I'm just gonna give away this much money, and then that's gonna be it. And then that's gonna be it. And then they're gonna have to see if they build the hospitals. They're gonna see if they're gonna and make sure that the medicines are there. Now that's a liability. Someone who's like, I'm gonna give them the money, but yeah, they're gonna have to see. And then months later, you wanna be like, oh man, this is such a disaster. Shut the fuck up. Because if you are a true leader, you will make sure that you will make sure that you will make sure that you don't just allocate monies, but you will make sure sure that those monies are utilized where they have to be utilized. You know what I mean? Because same as some of these countries that want to invest their monies in certain countries, I think that they actually don't care themselves. They don't care. I'm talking about, of course, the European nations. The reason why I say because they have this tendency of throwing monies at these ministers or some of these presidents that happen to be so disastrous when it comes to leadership and whatever. And like they just leave it there to hang. These people have the best armies in the world. They have resources surpass any expectation, ingenious expectation, but they just have this tendency of, yeah, we are delegating this much money as Germany, and then they leave it like that. The only thing that they care about is their turnover, their profit. They don't hence devise or incentivize the fact that there must be prior checks, or there must be reevaluations. You understand? Because even me as a business, I wouldn't want to set a business or start a business without there being any re-evaluations. I'm gonna start with the evaluation number one, but then there has to be a re-evaluation. So I have a feeling that some of these countries they just act passively, nje. They don't give a fuck. The only thing that they care about is gold, platinum, all this other stuff that is gonna manufacture the cars that they wish to or desire to drive. That's all they care about. That's all they give a fuck about. And at the end of the day, you have innocent lives dwindling, at the cost of uh, colonialism, a form of colonialism that still exists even years after it has passed. John. Huh? Um. Ayo, Morgs. How you doing, bro? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Uh, George Goten. Spinosaurus. I don't know Spinosaurus, Ibabe. Who's that? Who's Spinosaurus? Who the fuck is Spinosaurus? You know what? I don't wanna fucking know who Spinosaurus is. Because I'm not interested in Spinosaurus. I'm not interested in all that shit. Yeah, well. So, bro, this is just a lament, yeah, bro. It's just a lament. It's a lament of the good and the bad that could actually come out of African leadership, or the good and bad that is there, because in everything that there is, in anything that there is, right? There is good in anything good that there is. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. In anything good that there is, there's always an element of bad. But in as much as there may be bad, it doesn't mean that there isn't still an element of good. You see? So yeah, it was just a reflection, on on Africa, on South Africa, on Swaziland, my home country, rightfully so, because my ancestor Jomo was one of the commanders of that little army that Shaga used to lead, and with some smarts in him, he migrated all the way to Swaziland, and he created a life. He forged a lineage there. So Mkabela, myself, years later, you feel me? There are also certain brothers and sisters that I have in Mozambique. Their surnames are sort of different from mine, but I am Mkabela. They know themselves. So yeah, Lomo is one feisty dude. That's what I'm gonna say. He's one feisty ass dude. He literally went around Southern Africa, um, forging clans from scratch. Yeah, the balls this guy had. Such balls this guy had. Essas. Wena. Such balls. Such balls. Uyahamba uyobhibhida le Eswatini le. Jikelethu uhamba ubhibhide le eMozambique. Jikelethu ubhibhide kona koZambia. Solo uyabhibhida wena. Nawo lo komshita nako bekutsanza likuku. Alikuku bekutsanza wahlomo. Bekutsanza likuku kwabantu bani nawo. Bekutsanza likuku likuku bekutsanza. Wafati vele bekubatsanza. Any thoughts on Israel? Israel. What about Israel? What I know is that Israel plans to buy. For what reasons? Hey, I'm still wondering, because countries like Palestine and Israel, I'd want to think they're one and the same thing. In as much as it may be, yeah, the other one provoke the other one, blah blah blah. Like in terms of like their track record, I want to think that they one and the same thing. And not to even mention if they or maybe they've already bought land here. I won't know. And if Israel already bought land here, we are partially invaded as South Africa. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say. Because bro, they have a history. They have their history. They have their history, even in the Bible. The Bible accounts how Israelis ended up being, Israelites or whatever, how they ended up being, like in terms of like even when they became liberated, their nature, how it ended up being. So, hey, Israel, Israel, faith. There are no comments on that country. There are no comments on that country, except that also people that are very, very, they have this tendency of being provocative in ways that are very, 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 very threatening. Ways that are very threatening, and not in a good way. Not in a way that I think is going to guarantee the support of Israeli people. Understand? No, the support and safety of Israeli people. Because, I mean, come on, dog. Come on, bro. In as much as it's like sometimes war has to be, a solution, I don't think that it really has to be. Because sometimes you really ruin the lives of people when you want to start certain wars, and it's like sometimes it doesn't even become about the supposed pride of your country anymore. It ends up just being a thrill for the fuck of it, for the thrill of it. And just imagine how abnormal you have to be if you gotta think like that. You should equate yourself to a lion in the savannah, if that's the case, or an elephant, who's trying to trample people for no reason, assuming things that are not there, because we think that we're human, sometimes in our actions. We are not. We are utter freaking animals. We are freaking beasts. We are not as sophisticated. We are not as evolved from animals as we'd want to think we are. You understand? Faith to look around you. Look around you, faith. Senseless fights. Fights that don't make any sense. Fights that are oligarchic. In nature. Oligarchic interests. Snapping their fingers and having lives, literal lives, under their hands, under their literal hands. And I don't want to suggest that, we, in as much as being direct is important, sometimes being direct is not the way to go. Sometimes you have to be covert about it. You see, if Mr. Trump wanted to actually grab that guy, he would have been covert about it to a degree. I mean, if CIA is literally the best intelligence agency in the world, no. Sandy, Wakon. Baba, I'm not gonna have that. Listen, on this channel, no extremism. No extremism. You wanna be extremist? Fuck off. You wanna be extremist? Fuck off. Fuck out of here. Me, I'm not extremist. I talk on the opinion based on the common observation that I have objectively come to comprehend. You understand? You have to understand me. I'm not extremist. I'm not pro this. What? No. You have to snap out of that shit. That's why I said playfully, by the way, that as modern human beings, we have to consider making our own societies, coming up with our own policies, even coming together, being our own humanity for freaking once. Because in as much as the government owns money, owns access to this, owns access to that, if we band together for real, we can create governments, breakaway governments, if that's the case. Since our own governments are just floppy, Like, most of our governments in the world are flower people faith. Don't freaking deny it. And since that's the case, we could band together like this and be our own governance in real time. Plant our own freaking fruit. Create our own products. Hell, even found money, our own money among ourselves. How would governments function then? Some of you don't have any fucking common sense. How would governments function then if we were our own governance? We were to wake up one day and say, okay, you know what? Some of us in the bank, some of us have made this in the bank, some of us, blah blah blah. You know what? Let's mix up. Let's mix it up with other millionaires. Let's mix it up with other rich people. Let's mix it up with other hard workers, and let's freaking found breakaway government. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. As in breakaway governments. Own forms of economics, own form of this, own form of that. Breakaway government. Own form of law enforcement. Because there are some of us, remember, we went to university, we went to colleges. I didn't go to fucking university, you know yourself. We went to universities, we went to colleges, but at the same time, we have never had shit to show for that. Okay, never mind my phony ass right now on stream saying all this, but I'm saying this because I personally have had that realization. It's either you assimilate or you get the fuck out. I'm not gonna force anyone to listen to any of the blab I have to say. One, this has to be consensual. If this is not consensual, I'm forcing it. I'm not like that. I am not like that. So it's either you get your ass the fuck out or you stay here. It's easy. You choose. You choose. I'm not trying to boss anyone into anything. You choose. We are cats, we are the cats. You choose. You pick for yourself. So I don't know, bro. I don't know. Maybe it's a over romanticization of leadership that's blinding many millionaires in the world because there are millionaires in the world. There are millionaires in the world, Buffett. There are millionaires in the there are billionaires in the world besides government leaders. I guess that my own brand has to flourish so that some of the changes that I speak of, I actively demonstrate them so that these flukes wearing suits see where they're going wrong. If they want to fight me up, I guess that I'm going to have to be prepared. With that being said, I'm sort of past my limit now, and I didn't mean to be past my limit like this, just like the other time. But with that being said, everyone, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. My name is Crusher X, Revinator, after Mother Haters, rapper, songwriter, content creator, one of the best rappers of the time. The slogan goes to the day says, I really lose nothing. You feel me? If you're feeling this kind of content, if you're a new viewer, please hit that like button. Make sure that you share the live as we go live, because I'm still going to go live, right? Make sure that you share the short, you understand? Make sure that you share. Clickety click, 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 clickety click, 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 bang. You understand? But then with that being said, I'm gonna see you when I see you. Probably I'm gonna do some rapping, a little rapping, nothing much, you see. But then I'm gonna see you when I see you. Shout out, man. Baka. It was a cool one.